Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the World Wrestling Federation developed a little bit of an attitude. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico,
Bret the High and Mighty, Hell Bret, Hell Hitman, yeah.
Hail Hitman, Joe Giammatteo.
Well, I have a question for you guys this week.
Please.
Have either of you ever had a girl leave you because you had a kidney injury?
Every time I get a kidney injury, boom, she's gone.
Okay.
It's like clockwork.
All right, I guess it is a normal thing then.
One time it was both kidneys and it ended up being my house.
Yeah, it could be the house too.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history one pay-per-view at a time. That's right, folks. This is a pay-per-view episode, so special pay-per-view rules are in effect. Those being that we are each going to give our own star ratings. Joe is going to hit us with Meltzer's star ratings from the Wrestling Observer. And in the end, we're going to talk about just whether or not we got our money's worth. So, with that being said, in this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be taking a look at In Your House 12. It's time. It's time. I fucking hate this title. It's Time aired on December 15th, 1996, and was recorded at the West Palm Beach Auditorium in West Palm Beach, Florida, and features Vince McMahon, Jim Ross, and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
It's time.
God. Let's get into it.
With Vader nowhere to be seen.
Nowhere
It's
at
time
all.
to scoop the litter box.
We had a nice juxtaposition of themes here to start things off. First off, it was a nicely put together greatest hits compilation from Bret Hart, both in footage and audio clips. It all added up to the fact that Bret wants the title and he's going to get it. Then we had Sid spraying baby oil everywhere, while a frantic drum line pounded out the insanity that is Psycho Sid. It kind of sounded like the opening to Eat the Rich by Aerosmith. It might just be me, though. The takeaway, though, is that Milton Bradley's Karate Fighters is bringing you In Your House from the West Palm Beach Auditorium. And we got word here that Shawn Michaels will be joining commentary for the championship match. How about that? But we can't spend time thinking about that. We've got to go now into our first match of the night. Flash Funk defeats Leif Cassidy by pinfall in 10 minutes and 34 seconds. Flash Funk got a ton of pyro, and Vince loved it. Absolutely loved it. I'm still in awe at the level of effort being put into Flash Funk's entrance. I love the Funkettes. It's all so flashy and funky. How could you not like it? Vince does get up and dance with Flash Funk and the Funkettes. I have no idea why he never won the championship, he being Flash Funk here, given how much Vince obviously just loves the gimmick and has fun with it constantly.
So funky.
I'm glad to see Vince enjoying it, honestly. I mean, he's usually like a fucking robot over there at commentary.
Well, you could say he still was like a robot while he was dancing.
Yeah, but he's starting McMannequin. He's starting to loosen up a little bit.
A little bit. Like I said, Mummy/Elaine is his dancing.
Flash Funk's entrance went on for quite a while, and whenever things got going, JR just had to ruin the illusion and throw some reality in there with some decent commentating, reminding us that both of these guys have martial arts experience. And Flash Funk's outfit just looked like it was hot as hell and didn't allow for much breathing. That's pretty much the biggest thing about Flash Funk's outfit that jumped out to me here. There was a nice sequence between these two, but that got canceled out by some botches in the corner. Little obvious there. And I was just kind of hanging out and watching this match. I wasn't really impressed by much, but I was happy to at least be seeing a couple of wrestlers that I've always liked. And then out of nowhere, Leif Cassidy belly-to-belly suplexes Flash Funk right over the top rope and out of the ring. I yelled Jesus Christ out loud because it looked rough in just about every fucking way possible. And then a somersault springboard, then a sprinting clothesline, all from Leif Cassidy onto Flash Funk. There were 4 or 5 kids in the audience chanting, "Flash, Flash, Flash," which prompted Vince to say that the crowd was overwhelmingly behind Flash Funk, the only amount of noise in the arena, by the way. The spine buster from Leif Cassidy looked rough as hell. Flash Funk came down on his tailbone, like straight onto it. I was getting a little tired of the showboating from Flash Funk, but then he hit a sailing splash on Leif from the ring to the outside. That looked great. Flash Funk hit a beautiful moonsault and then ended up hitting a textbook shooting star press to get the pin and the 3 count. You may be surprised to know that I'm going to go with 2 stars on this match because, at first I was kind of put off, didn't really care for what I was seeing, but then I realized this wasn't a Flash Funk versus Leif Cassidy match. This was Too Cold Scorpio versus Al Snow. In so many different ways. Mm-hmm. If you take the showboating away from this was the exact type of match that Too Cold Scorpio would have had. And the only thing that Al Snow really shares with Leif Cassidy at this point in his career and in this match is the name. That's it. His behavior, his ring style, it's already so drastically different compared to where he was with Jannetty in the New Rockers. This is more of Al Snow's later career than it was any of his earlier bullshit. Just if you take away the gimmicks and speed up some of the high spots in this was an ECW match. Ryan, what did you think of it?
I completely agree. I don't think you have to try and defend yourself giving this 2 stars because I thought this was the best match that we have seen Al Snow wrestle in the WWF.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, this wasn't a fantastic match, and as it started, seeing Flash Funk versus Leif Cassidy, you almost thought, should this have been a Superstars match? Or, you know what I mean? Just, it's kind of low star power here. But I thought that these 2 guys put on a pretty decent show together. It got a little bit annoying with Flash Funk's constant dancing. It's like, why wouldn't Leif Cassidy just punch him while he's like doing 3 different leg movements and a couple arm gyrations? Like that part doesn't make sense, but the actual wrestling between these 2, I thought was very solid. And there was no oil for Leif Cassidy to slip on. And really the main botch that I saw was there was Flash Funk. Flash Funk botched it and Al Snow just kind of stood there and allowed him to redo the move.
Yeah.
Like the dancing, like why would he just stand there and allow him to redo it? Little things like that are probably why I didn't even give it a 3-star. If it wasn't for those little botches and the constant showboating from Flash, I might have went 3 stars with this match because I thought it was that entertaining. The spot where Flash fires himself out of the ring, it looks like he was shot out of a cannon. He got so much distance on that. So, I mean, I thought there was a lot to like with this match. The finisher, it looks like he moved away from the leg drop and moved over to just the shooting star press. That looked great. So yeah, I was right there with you. I gave it a 2-star. And as I said, if it wasn't for a couple of those botches and a little bit of the ridiculous gimmicks bleeding into the match too much here, I probably would have went 3. But yeah, 2 stars.
Yeah, Vince McMahon said something very profound during this match. He said, Flash Funk is just full of all kind of funky maneuvers.
What a way to take Flash Funk's moveset and then call them maneuvers.
Yeah, just keeping it going with me hating everything Vince says during Flash Funk matches.
Flashy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
McMannequin. I want to go back to the entrance, Bartlett. You talked about the entrance a little bit, the Flash Funk entrance. It's a little cheesy, but they do look cool as hell doing it, I think.
Yeah.
Honestly, guys, like it kind of gives me a little bit of a like a modern wrestling feel. Like I feel like this is something they would do on like NXT now. Like it's just kind of that weird shit you see sometimes on there. I kind of wish they would give them some cool lighting once they get into the ring.
Yeah.
Or even the way down, just it's normal.
Yeah.
lights, yeah.
Yeah, they just have like the normal house lights and stuff. So maybe they'll do something later. I'm sure they will, since he's still pretty new. But I agree with you guys completely on this match, and I'm glad you guys mentioned, we're getting more Al Snow here than we are that dorky Leif Cassidy.
Yeah.
He's such a geek.
Just had to get Jannetty out of the fucking way.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, so Marty's injured, and the last time we saw him, it was Bob Holly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe he's kind of being given a little more freedom here, and it's kind of nice to see. Yeah, there were botches, it wasn't really smooth or tight, but the match had some good moments. I really liked when they went outside the ring. Bartlett, you mentioned that sprinting clothesline from Leif Cassidy that kind of came off camera, which looked pretty cool. The belly to belly outside of the ring. I mean, it looked pretty painful. That's what we want to see, right?
Yeah.
We just needed that England camera back, and it would be ECW.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some nice moves from Flash Funk, and I think they need a name for that finisher. I hope they come up with one eventually. But there was that one spot where they were doing they were trading off the somersault pins.
Yeah.
And my God, Vince just they must have done it 10 times, and 1, 2, he got no 1, 2, no 1, 2, he got him, no he didn't. I mean, it was just oh my God, it was so bad. But Vince McMahon aside, I will give this 2 stars as well. It wasn't necessarily better than I thought, but it really wasn't bad.
What'd Meltzer think of it?
So I had a little bit of a problem with, I don't know if there's typos with a couple matches on this card, but I couldn't find a rating from Dave Meltzer on this. But he did say these 2 did a lot of high-risk spots, but as far as working cohesively together, it was a disappointment. So he didn't seem to like it very much.
Well, I mean, I suppose I can maybe see that, but fuck him anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, I thought pretty entertaining.
Yeah, hey man, whatever. 2 stars. Come on, Unky Dave. It's time to start getting ready, guys, for the 1997 Royal Rumble. Are you excited for that?
No.
Crickets. Nobody is. I'm looking forward to it. I like the Royal Rumble as a pay-per-view, and we didn't get a ton of information here or anything, but just as is the way, we must be talking about the next pay-per-view at the current pay-per-view. So I can't remember exactly what happens at the 97 Royal Rumble, but we've got a really great cast of characters out here. Or characters. We've got a lot of great superstars, I should say. So it has the potential to be good. Whether it actually is or not, we'll find out then. But I do have to say I'm already looking forward to the 97 Royal Rumble way more than I was looking forward to our next match. Owen Hart and the British Bulldog defeat Fake Razor and Fake Diesel to retain the WWF Tag Team Championships in 10 minutes and 45 seconds. That was by pinfall. JR switches to Red Ass JR for this match, which is still just perplexing. The difference between the JR that called the first match and then this JR that was speaking at the opening of this match, it's like night and day. It's like 2 completely different people.
I keep on thinking in my head over the top when he turns the hat around. It's like a switch.
Yeah, the rally cap. He puts on his rally cap.
He puts on his rally cap and JR becomes Red Ass JR.
But music to my ears right after that, though. We went backstage to Kevin Oh My God Kelly to get some words with the champs and their manager, Clarence Mason. Clarence Mason didn't chip in shit on this one. Kevin Kelly tries to get a word out of the Bulldog about Stone Cold Steve Austin, but Owen Hart gets things back on track and reminds us that this will be a championship match. This was a neat little promo leading into this match, and it felt classic. It felt appropriate. It felt correct for the time and place. Once they got down into the ring, the look on the Bulldog's face as they were getting ready was like, well, I guess we're going to do this. And things got going. Things didn't get very far, though, until a couple of guys from AAA came down to watch and kind of interfere, but kind of not. I think one was named Cybernetico, and the other was maybe Geralt or something like that. Geralt
I thought
Rivia.
the whole team was called Supernetico. I thought that was the team name.
The guy that tore his shirt off was Cybernetico, and then Geralt was the other guy or whatever.
I heard Supernetico, but okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure of their names at all. But really, it doesn't matter because it was a completely meaningless distraction and did nothing for anybody anywhere, period. This was the only mention of the AAA connection in this pay-per-view.
And then Vince said they might challenge whoever wins tonight for the title. They might.
Unless you're it's 1996, unless you're in a market where you see AAA or you're like a tape trader.
Yeah.
How the fuck would you know who this is?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but I heard the most recent pay-per-view with AEW just had some AAA tag team people come in and interrupt something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's really interesting that just happened this past weekend in AEW, but I didn't see it.
I didn't either. Joe, did you? Just out of curiosity.
No, I didn't, but I mean...
You did hear about that, though?
Yeah, but we all have... I mean, we have so many resources now that we've at least heard of AAA.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
In 96, you're probably thinking, like, what the fuck is AAA?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I would have known about them was because so many of our jobbers have, made their way through AAA. So I've brought them up many times at this point, but outside of that, I certainly wouldn't have known about them back in 96.
Yeah, same here. I didn't even know about these guys today in 2022. AAA, that's it. That's the expanse of my knowledge. AAA, and then I think Conan has something to do with it, but that's it. That's all I know. At about the time that the Bulldog was in the ring with Fake Razor, I was pissed off that the tag champs were reduced to this bullshit. But then Stone Cold Steve Austin came down and the Bulldog went after him, prompting a flood of officials and a pull-apart. There were no consequences to that, and it didn't change anything at all, really, about this match. When Diesel didn't cover Owen Hart after the sidewalk slam, JR was yelling, "You gotta cover him! You gotta cover him!" It sounded like he was about to have an aneurysm. And he was right. He should have covered him. What a dipshit. There was a nice crowd chant of Diesel sucks shortly after that. And it was really telling to me in this match, and I don't know if either of you guys noticed this, but compared to the way he usually works, Owen Hart was barely selling any of this. Barely. Half the time, he wouldn't even register kicks or punches, especially from Fake Diesel. Owen's insecurity to Fake Diesel looked great, which was probably the first good-looking move of this match. And even Vince said at one point that he didn't think the fans cared who won. He was trying to pass it off as sounding like everybody hated both of these teams because they're both heels, but really he was being Freudian with it because I just think he let slip that nobody genuinely cared who won this. The finish was manic, but it actually looked kind of all right. But that's not the highlight of this for me. The highlight was Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back to attack the British Bulldog one more time. It did surprise me, though, that Owen didn't attempt any kind of retaliation, but I liked how Austin was just showing up out of nowhere. I ended up with 1 star on this simply because the Bulldog and Owen won. And I have to say that if Fake Razor and Fake Diesel had won this match and the belts, I might have had to have skipped the next 3 months of WWF wrestling.
Wrasslin Raw is fast-forwarding.
Well, I'm dead serious because I can't believe this shit is not only still going on, but these fuckers are in a championship match on a pay-per-view going up against 2 great talents of their time. What a fucking disgusting waste of time and resources. Joe, please, what did you have on this?
Yeah, it's really terrible. When this started, this Fake Razor, Fake Diesel thing, it's going on, 4 or 5 months now?
Yeah, it's got to go.
Yep.
When this match started, I told myself, I'm giving this a dud. I don't care what happens. I just can't stand that this is happening still. I guess some positive notes here for me was all of the Stone Cold Steve Austin stuff. When he comes out, Jim Ross gives one of my favorite JR-isms where he says, "Business just picked up," when Stone Cold comes out. And Stone Cold Steve Austin being escorted out by security is something that, we're going to get very used to seeing.
That security is going to get very heavy-handed later on.
Yeah. So that was nice to see. But man, seeing Glenn Jacobs perform the sidewalk slam just makes me appreciate Kevin Nash even more, because it is sloppy as fuck. And just, and I agree with these fans. Diesel sucks. And so does fake Razor Ramon. The heels, Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith, are being cheered quite heavily by this, what is Florida?
Yeah.
Florida crowd. So Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard and whoever else, like, fuck you both. And you could continue to rub our faces in shit in order to feed your ego. So fuck you. I give it a dud.
Yeah, I love Owen Hart and the Bulldog. There's no doubt about that. But why put them with fake Razor and fake Diesel and just fucking ruin them? They have the tag team belts, and you're allowing these two phony jokes of wrestlers go for the belts on a pay-per-view event.
Yeah, charging people to see it.
Absolutely disgraceful. I don't get it. I mean, Stone Cold, you both said Stone Cold is the highlight of this match. Owen Hart, his performance in this was clear that he was probably just as pissed off as we were, because he didn't fuck up his moves. But like you stated, Bartlett, it was when he was selling, he was just like, fuck you guys. I'm not selling this bullshit. He just wasn't going to have anything of it. And I could understand why. The Bulldog, he gave Diesel and Razor the double noggin knocker. I always love to see that. That's one of my all-time favorite. Just even, it's very cartoony, but I love it. I love the double noggin knocker. Outside the noggin knocker, double noggin knocker, and Stone Cold are the highlights here. And if that's going to be the case, can I land on anything other than a dud? That's where I'm at.
I don't think you can. Yeah.
I'm usually not the generous one.
I hate to give Owen Hart a dud.
Yeah.
But man, Red Ass JR starts it off.
Yeah.
And then he just leads in to fake Razor and fake Diesel, just ruining our night.
I get it, both of you. I completely understand, because it was a hard choice for me too, but I'm dead serious. If fake Razor and fake Diesel had won this, we very well may have had a very unpleasant conversation about the future of this podcast. At least the next 3 months of it. Because goddamn. Joe, what did Meltzer have to say about it?
Well, speaking of generous, he gave this 2.25 stars.
Jesus Christ.
2.25 stars.
The match was okay, but the finish was real good.
No, it wasn't. All right, well, let's just move on, because it was terrible. We did get a pretty neat sight, though, following that match, backstage.
Crush.
The Nation of Domination and Crush. Crush was there with Farouk and PG-13.
Did we miss Crush joining the Nation of Domination?
It must have been on Superstars, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Bartlett didn't miss it. He went and watched that specially. But yeah.
Well, I've got an omnibus compilation of the works of Crush that I keep handy. I fall asleep to it every night. Crush was there with Farouk and PG-13, as well as a trio of gentlemen dressed in Nation of Islam type clothing. Those three gentlemen apparently doing the typing for the Nation of Domination in the America Online chat room. I think it's really ironic here that you have a group called the Nation of Domination, but you have 3 black men doing all the work for what amounts to 3 white men.
Yeah. That was the thing all night with them is like, there's more white guys in this group.
Yeah. PG-13 were doing most of the directing here. Every once in a while, Crush was giving his 2 cents, and Farouk just otherwise stood in approval of everything going on around him. After that, we went to the ring, and Vince McMahon introduced Ahmed Johnson. Ahmed came out to a pop, and I suspect that pop was for the tracksuit and fanny pack.
Can I ask,
that Ahmed was wearing.
Were either of you afraid that this was going to be a Shawn Michaels interview when you saw Vince McMahon in the ring?
No, his pants were on.
No, I really didn't know what to expect with Sean
yeah,
coming
I
out
totally
for
thought it
commentary
was,
later.
Yeah, I totally thought it was going to be the most charismatic. Yeah.
We got the news here that Ahmed and Farouk will meet each other at the Royal Rumble. Apparently, Ahmed has literally lost everything in his life due to his kidney injury, including his house, his car, and his girlfriend.
Everything except that sweet Rawlings tracksuit.
Yeah. Yeah. And a few pounds. I mean, he could have stood to have lost a few of those. Ahmed looked a little chunky coming off of his recuperation there. Maybe it was just the tracksuit. I don't know. He's a big motherfucker, but Ahmed just really wasn't being clear with any of this. But damn it, he had passion in his delivery. But then the Nation of Domination showed up in the nosebleeds with Farouk cutting a pretty crazy promo. One point he called Ahmed and Uncle Tom and said that Farouk is going to create his own race and that by the time he's done, Farouk is going to be synonymous with the Promised Land, and that's by any means necessary. Ahmed responds with, "We don't have to wait. You can come down here right now," and then gets a "weak you're going down" chant going. This was followed by a video package for Hunter Hearst Helmsley, voiced by Todd Pettingzoo, and footage of one move by Marc Mero. That's what constitutes a Marc Mero video package, is just the one move over and over again. Pettingzoo gave us the complete history between these two, from their entrance in the WWF up to this pay-per-view and the Intercontinental title match that we are about to have. But, guys, please indulge me here briefly because I really want to delay the inevitable a little bit. We had a rare mid-match segment here that gave us new information, and not just new information, but better information on what's going on between Farouk and Ahmed Johnson here. So, Joe, what did you think about this interview scene and the confrontation between the two?
Well, I mean, Ahmed appears to be back and ready for action, and Farouk wants a piece. And yeah. I think that Farouk, he looks a little silly surrounded by a few of these people. Yeah. But you know, it's a work in progress. Yes. We're gonna shed some of that silliness and get a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, the promo that Farouk cuts on Ahmed, it's part of it is almost like a callback to I want to think that Ron Simmons or whoever was helping him with these promos is probably a Muhammad Ali fan, because I think some of the stuff that he says is sort of a callback to some stuff that Muhammad Ali would say, because Muhammad Ali I think it was Joe Frazier, he called him an Uncle Tom.
Yes, Joe Frazier. Yep.
And like slapped him in the face and stuff. Like he was always cutting promos like that. So yeah, it's almost like a callback to some of that stuff, which, I mean, it's edgy, it's good. I like it.
This wasn't a bad segment. It was funny to learn all that it cost Ahmed Johnson his kidney injury. That was a little bit hard to believe, but every time Johnson seems to get kind of caught up in his words and he doesn't know what to say, he will just say that he's doing it for the fans and try and pull a cheap pop.
Yeah.
That's something I've been noticing with him lately. Then Farouk, yeah, I mean, this is certainly an edgy promo he cuts here, saying, "Besides the rednecks, it's you, the Uncle Toms of the world I hate the most." Jesus. I mean, really laying it down there.
Yeah.
And then when it gets back to Johnson, again, his weak mic skills come to the head here when he just starts to chant this weak "you're going down" chant that he got going a little while ago. So his weakness on the mic is definitely glaring at this point, but interested to see where this feud could go. As far as the karate fighters thing and Mr. Perfect, did you guys notice when they tried to explain away Hunter's turn on Mr. Perfect, they reused the footage from before the hoax was...
They tried to edit some of that.
Yeah, they thought we were all morons and we weren't going to notice the footage of Hunter running that cart into Mr. Perfect was before. Yeah, but I just wanted to point that out.
So something else that I noticed about that And I only picked it up once, but I don't remember him saying it any other time. Did Petting Zoo actually say Mr. Perfect? Because at least once he referred to him as Kurt Hennig only. He didn't say Mr. Perfect in the lead up to any of it.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, strange stuff.
Kurt Hennig.
Well, God, can we just make fun of Todd Pettingzoo for another half hour and call it good? Or do we have to keep going with this?
What do you mean? We got some quality stuff coming up.
I'd love to see Farouk slap Todd Pettingzoo in the face.
That would be so great. Spin his head right around. All right. Let's go now into our next match. Marc Mero with Sable defeats Hunter Hearst Helmsley by countout in 14 minutes and 3 seconds, which means Helmsley retains the Intercontinental Championship as a result. It still surprises me that Marc Mero was coming out to Sable's music this early in his WWF career. I can't get over that. The pyro they set off for Mero just wouldn't fucking end. It just kept on going after it was well past its welcome, much like Mero's push here. I loved Hunter Hearst Helmsley coming out to Beethoven's Ode of Joy. That was a nice touch. That was a nice change of pace.
Changed up his Zelda music.
Yeah. He came out to that harpsichord, the Zelda song, like you pointed out, or Kate pointed out, didn't she?
Yes, it was
Ryan?
Kate that called it the Zelda music. You're right.
I was hoping that wasn't some stupid Peacock thing, but I think the announcers actually commented on it.
Yeah,
so
they did.
It was definitely the real deal, yeah.
I popped hard for the Karate Fighter's blimp flying around inside the arena.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
And as great as Helmsley is with selling and working, he couldn't keep up with Mero botching the arm drag sequence. You know, that Mero sequence that Mero does, arm drag, out of the ring, suicide splash, that he does in every fucking match. It got screwed up here. In this one, JR passed that off as multiple reversals instead of multiple botches. I have to give it to Mero. When Helmsley threw him into the ring stairs the first time, he sold the hell out of it. Not so much the second time, but that first time, I was genuinely hoping that he was hurt. After taking a chair away from Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Vince McMahon noted that referee Earl Hebner was giving the match some leeway because apparently, supposedly, Hebner knew that a DQ win would not end in a title change. Inferring, of course, that the referee is somehow emotionally involved with the outcome of this match. That's bullshit. That's a crooked fucking zebra as far as I'm concerned. Earl Hebner, single worst referee of all time if he's letting that kind of bullshit make his in-ring decisions.
Bret Hart certainly agrees.
Bret Hart certainly does. Helmsley even sold the hell out of Hebner, yelling at him and shoving him. Full credit to Helmsley for that. That must have been some of that curtain call payoff there.
Cowering away.
And just shrinking before Earl Hebner.
Yeah.
Just
in the corner on the ground as Hebner points at his fucking logo on his chest like he has some fucking of authority.
I loved how Helmsley sold the running knee lift, and I popped my ass off when Mero clotheslined Earl Hebner. That was the best thing that Marc Mero did all night. But then Gold Dust out of nowhere, using the Intercontinental belt to drop both Mero and Helmsley, spicing up the Intercontinental scene. I like that. That's a good sign for the future. Hopefully Mero gets the fuck out of the picture here soon, but I would really be interested in seeing what a Gold Dust Hunter Hearst Helmsley match would look like. That interference is what got the count out for Mero, but Mero has to get his shit in, so he drags Helmsley back into the ring for a pointless wild thing, prompting JR to say that this feud is a long way from over, which made me vomit a little. Just threw up in my mouth a little bit. You know, guys, at one point, I was up to 2 stars on this match just for Hunter Hearst Helmsley and how great he can look in the ring with even a shithead like Marc Mero. I'm pretty fucking popping hard for Hunter Hearst Helmsley right now in 1996. I gotta throw that out there because through all of the trials and tribulations, getting buried, all of this bullshit, he has done nothing but at least maintain, if not improve, in so many different ways. We're getting there. We're getting to the game. He's a fantastic in-ring worker. But the bullshit in this match just kept piling up, and it dragged this match down to a dud rating for me. With that being said, I am happy to have Goldust in the mix, and I'm looking forward to where we can go there. Ryan, what did you have on this match?
I mean, I'm in complete agreement on Hunter here. Hunter is selling his ass off. And, just like last week with Sid, he's doing the best he can with what opportunity he's given in the ring. And, with Marc and this ongoing feud, it's not much. I'm getting pretty tired with it. But Hunter is definitely the shining light in this match, but it is quickly smothered by Marc Mero and Earl Hebner. I mean, I'm right there with you at this point with hating on Hebner, because how many times did Hebner should have called this match? He allowed a 30 or 40 second count outside the ring, and Vince says, "Oh, it's giving a bit of leeway here." Okay. But I don't know what else to say. We've said what we can about Marc Mero, and what he does in the ring is lackluster. He attempts to do high-flying stuff, but it never looks good. But they continuously put him in high-profile match after high-profile match, and I don't get it. So I'm not going to waste much more time going over what Hunter did well and what Marc did poor here, but I'm right there with you, and I don't want to give this to Hunter, but because of the overall feeling at the end of this match, for me, it's a dud. Sorry. But hopefully, Goldust coming in here means we're going to switch the feud to Hunter and Goldust for a little bit. Just please.
Yeah, Helmsley is such a fundamentally sound wrestler. I mean, there's nothing he does looks sloppy at all, ever. Yeah. He's only like 25, 26 years old when he came in last year, and he understands timing. He knows how to keep the wild man under control here, and has full control over this match, which probably helped it a little bit. But then we get to Marc Mero, and my comments on him right now are that he just never does anything different. The wild man, Marc Mero, same fucking thing every match.
Yeah.
And Bartlett, you talked about it before with Jim Cornette recently made some comments about the WCW power plant taught him how to be Johnny B. Bad, but it didn't teach him how to wrestle. And honestly, I'm convinced that he doesn't really know how to wrestle. I mean, he knows his moves and that's it. Great wrestlers like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Mick Foley, these other guys that we're seeing right now. One of the things that makes them so great is that they, every once in a while, they'll give us something different, in their matches because they're great. But Marc Mero just does the same shit every single match. I mean, he even sees the need to do a wild thing even after the match is over.
Because he's got to get it in.
Why?
He wouldn't be able to sleep at night if he didn't. It would break his power plant programming.
And we know by now it takes like 30 seconds for him to execute that move. So it's just, it's horrible.
He has to do the Watusi first and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley, he came from WCW too, but he was trained by Killer Kowalski. So, there's a good comparison there. I don't know. I'm so sick of Marc Mero matches. I'm giving this 1 star, not a dud, mainly because of Hunter Hearst Helmsley's abilities here and Goldust inserting himself into the picture here. Thank God.
Yeah.
Is Hunter Hearst Helmsley still paying for the curtain call, even though he is Intercontinental Champion right now?
It seems every once in a while they say, you know what, we're gonna bring that back.
Yeah, last week on Raw we watched him get kind of humiliated, but it was Sid, and now on this pay-per-view, he's kind of being humiliated by Marc Mero. So, man. That's rough.
Yeah. It's almost like, backstage they have the figurative bowl of dog shit and they're passing it around and they say, hey, just give it to Hunter. He'll smile and fucking eat it. What'd Meltzer have to say about this?
Gushing. Completely gushing.
Get the fuck out of here.
3.25 stars.
Jesus.
He said, these two had easily the best worked match on the show. but also the worst finish on the show.
He couldn't have been there. Well, I mean, I guess he was watching it on TV, but like...
Yeah, there's no way.
Maybe there was like static interference or something.
There was actually some kind of like technical difficulties.
Vince brought it up,
show.
something about apologizing for the satellites or something.
Yeah, maybe he was watching a completely different show. I don't know.
Silk Stockings is what he was watching.
Let's go backstage now. Doc Hendricks is there with Psycho Sid to get Sid's thoughts on Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Apparently, Shawn Michaels attacked Sid on Superstars earlier. Then Bret Hart got in the mix. Then Sid attacked Bret. This was just as convoluted as ever. Sid did drop a great line, though, saying, "Connect the dots. Shawn beat you. I beat Shawn. What do you think is going to happen?" Addressing that to Bret. And here we are, guys, the one we've all been waiting for, on the edge of our seats for, biting our nails for, our next match. The Undertaker defeats the Executioner with Paul Bearer in an Armageddon Rules match in 11 minutes and 31 seconds. Mankind also pops in on this one, too. The Executioner had basically no entrance. His music was inaudible. He had no lights. He had no pyro. It was just terrible. I was kind of surprised that you weren't going to give him Jobber of the Week here, Ryan. Well, Jobber of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I was very close. It being a pay-per-view, and I rewound it because I said, did he get his entrance cut off? Because if he got his entrance cut off, he was getting Jobber of the Week. But the announcer did finish. I mean, he was extending out the R in Executioner when they cut away from it. But he got a full entrance, and it was a pay-per-view match. So it's tough to give anyone that is not necessarily headlining, but almost headlining a pay-per-view Jobber. So if he shows up on Raw again, though, he's getting it.
Well, they didn't even fucking dim the house lights for this guy. I mean, it was basically just the same setup that they used to allow people to walk to the bathroom in between matches. This whole entrance thing was mitigated, though, by the video package that highlighted the evolution of The Undertaker and this story over time. That was pretty good. Some nice visuals there. And we finally got some clear-cut rules here, too, with an on-screen graphic. Rule number 1, no DQ. Rule number 2, no count-out. Rule number 3, and this one was the one that I thought was the weird one, after a pinfall or submission, the defeated wrestler has a 10 count to resume the match. When one man cannot continue, the match is over. So, that leads you to believe that this is much closer to a last man standing or an Iron Man match where, like, there's going to be lots of pinfalls and the guy literally can't stand up or can't get up. You know, that's how you win, is that he is literally crippled on the floor, like Jose Lothario just took a camera to the chest. The Undertaker got a huge pop coming out. He was wearing his Hellraiser Cenobite leather outfit down to the ring. It was tickling my brain before, like, what the fuck does that look like? It looks like something. And then I realized he looks like a Cenobite from Hellraiser wearing that thing. It was a stark contrast. Right at the start, you had The Undertaker on one side. He's a legitimate phenomenon, the Phenom, the rare wrestler and gimmick that transcends generations. He transcends time, for fuck's sake. And then on the other side of the ring, you've got a guy that looked so incredibly out of place in every way, shape, and form, to the point of really being a Jobber of the Week here. This is where it first dawned on me, like, oh shit, we're going to have a Jobber of the Week in a pay-per-view, maybe. Even Mankind fell victim to this bullshit. The Undertaker had pulled up the flooring at ringside to body slam the Executioner to the concrete. Mankind comes running in to interfere, and he tries to, like, run in for a save, but poor Mankind trips over the folded up flooring and just ends up, like, holding on to the Undertaker's ankle like a toddler. I did pop my ass off, though, when the Undertaker threw Mankind through the in-your-house set. First through the window and then back through the door. I thought it was great that the best part of the Undertaker Executioner match was the part that the Executioner wasn't in. But then a bunch of fucking security guys came in and maced Mankind To try to separate them and get Mankind out of there, the Undertaker dragged the Executioner back out of through the entryway, through the In Your House set there, into a lobby of the arena where there wasn't any cameras and we couldn't see the action. So, that was fucking great. Meanwhile, back in the ring, those security jobbers managed to get Mankind into a straitjacket, and with the assistance of Gorilla Monsoon, were hauling Mankind out of the arena. Finally, outside the arena, cameras were able to find the Executioner rolling down a slope into a shallow body of water.
Mid-roll. We didn't get the beginning of it.
Right. We didn't see who threw him or how he started. It kind of looked like a fountain in the front of the arena there that he fell into. But whatever was done to him, it was good enough for the Undertaker to leave the Executioner outside, come back into the arena, and beat on the physically restrained Mankind. Eventually, though, the Executioner comes back in to get a tombstone piledriver while sopping wet, and that one pinfall was all it took to get the Executioner the fuck out of here. I hope we never see him again. He never got the chance to apply his Asiatic spike or whatever the fuck it was. Oh my God, I want to flip out about this so badly. This was a fucking dud. This was a disjointed mess. It should have never even been considered. This did nothing to elevate anyone. We can only hope that this bullshit is over so everyone can move on to bigger and better things, including getting the Executioner the fuck out of the WWF, because I'm tired of it. I'm over it. This was such, you have no idea how much this match pissed me off. This took the Undertaker down a peg for me because he was willing to go along with it. That bare minimum acquiescence to dealing with this bullshit made me lose a little bit of respect for him. Same goes for Paul Bearer and Mankind, honestly. This match pissed me off. Terrible. Fucking terrible. Joe, please. Sorry.
I'm sorry, did you give this a dud?
Yes, it's a dud, Joe.
Just making sure.
God damn.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
I have to take a drink after that.
Yeah, take a deep breath. The Executioner cannot even walk up the ring stairs. So there's the start to the match. He comes off as an older, washed. It's almost like remember when they brought Isaac Yankem in? It's supposed to be like this menacing figure, but it's cartoony and not very good or believable, and they get immediately beat and buried by their opponent. As Isaac Yankem got beat by Bret Hart in his first match, and that was the end of Isaac Yankem. And now the Executioner is supposed to be this scary figure that just immediately gets buried by the Undertaker.
He's a fucking Scooby-Doo villain.
What are they trying to do with this? They had chances to completely bail on this. How many times have we said, pretend it never happened? And how many times they've done that? Well, they could have done it with the Executioner, and they chose to not do that. They put him on a pay-per-view. I mean, it basically almost becomes an Undertaker versus Mankind match.
It did.
Some of the stuff was okay, when Mankind was throwing himself through the set. The In Your House set was kind of funny. The Executioner rolling down that hill was funny, but for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, halfway through this, I was thinking this desperately needs some sort of Undertaker theatrics in order to save this, but they didn't do it. And like I said, it becomes another Mankind versus Undertaker match. And why are security people coming in and spraying mace and putting Mankind in a straitjacket? What was he? Did I miss something? What was he doing?
Why didn't they do that to Stone Cold earlier when he interrupted?
Or everyone else who interferes in matches. I mean, I get it. The guy's crazy and stuff, but
well, even at the start, whenever Mankind first comes out, both Vince and Jim Ross note that it's an Armageddon match. There's no DQ. There's nothing that anybody can do to stop the fact that Mankind is out there.
Except
it's all
for
within
security
the rules.
With their mace and straitjacket.
Right. So, I mean, that's just really piss poor storytelling, really. It's almost like they had this idea, and it's oh, let's just insert it here without having it make any sense at all. And you mentioned Armageddon rules. Well, we got one fucking 10 count, and it's over. I mean... So what was the point of it? What was the point of it? I don't understand any of this at all. It's a dud.
Yeah, it's, to start off, I think for the first time ever on the podcast, I'm going to be giving a Undertaker match a dud because, this was sad and it hurts me. It hurts me to have to do that. But the Executioner excellently executed all of my expectations for this match. Right from the get-go, the Executioner just looks like he's 90 in the ring. Everything the Undertaker does, he's 3-4 seconds behind in reacting to it. The Armageddon rules, Joe, like you just pointed out. Why? Why the fuck did we even explain all these convoluted rules and ins and outs of this match when it's just going to happen once? You would think with the way they laid this out, we were going to see, pinfall after pinfall and people getting up on a 9 count time and time again. No, it is one pinfall, 1 10 count, and the pathetic fuck Executioner is done. They bring in Mankind to try and salvage this, and poor Mick Bartlett, like you pointed out, he trips over the mat going for the Undertaker's leg. And it was almost like a vision of this match, and how things were going for it, that even Mankind and the Undertaker couldn't salvage this. I, said in the beginning, I gave this a dud, and the whole way through it, that's what I was thinking to myself is, am I honestly going to have to give a Undertaker match a dud here? And I almost went to a 1 star when Mankind was in the straitjacket and Undertaker was making his way down the ramp and Mankind just runs at him with the fucking straitjacket on and just rams him with his head and then just gets pummeled because he can't use his arms. I thought that was fantastic, just highlighting the derangedness of Mankind, but that couldn't save it either. I did laugh my ass off watching all the water drip out of the Executioner's boots during the tombstone. That again was almost worth a 1 star, but sorry. By the time it came to the end, the Executioner has ruined even the Undertaker for me. Thank you, Executioner. You made this a dud.
The whole point behind a stipulation match is to exploit the stipulations. And they did that with stipulations 1 and 2. Stipulation 3, completely pointless. No reason for it to be there at all. Joe, what'd Meltzer think of this pile of shit?
5 stars. No,
get the fuck out of here.
No, so this was another one, unfortunately, that there was no rating. I don't know if that was a typo or what, but
okay, well,
Dave Meltzer notes that the two worked about 4 minutes at a fairly fast pace. It was decent, but you could tell that fast pace was not going to last.
Yeah, can't really argue with that. They needed Mankind in a straitjacket to prop it up. Well, let's go again backstage with Doc Hendricks. This time, Doc is with Bret Hart. Doc wants to know what the story is with Bret dropping his calm, cool demeanor this morning when Shawn and Sid were going at it on Superstars. But the real message here is that Bret Hart is sick of Shawn Michaels. And that sentiment is triggered by Shawn Michaels' music playing in the arena while Bret is still trying to cut his promo. Remember that we got the news earlier that Shawn will be joining commentary. Vince makes a point of shaking Shawn's hand, and we head into our headliner, the final match of the night. Psycho Sid defeats Bret Hart by pinfall in 17 minutes and 3 seconds to retain the World Wrestling Federation Championship. Shawn spends the entirety of Bret Hart's entrance bitching up a storm about Bret Hart, getting really obnoxious and petty with it. He was to like red-ass JR levels of obnoxious and petty. Sid came out, Sid was looking good, and I have to admit that Shawn had a great line about Sid. Shawn Michaels called Psycho Sid the WWF's most expensive piece of luggage. Great line, my God. At this point in my notes, I was already really hoping that Shawn Michaels' bitching wasn't going to continue through this match. Thankfully, it didn't. He did tone it down fairly shortly after this. I loved Bret attacking Sid from behind and the work that got going from there. It looked great. This was a great jump start to this match. It worked well for both of these competitors. We had a great view from the hard camera of some haymakers from Sid. Sid was doing some good work here at the start. I loved Bret saving himself from the powerbomb on the concrete with a desperation kind of like spear shove thing, putting Sid into the corner post. There was some great storytelling in the ring here with Bret Hart and working Sid's back, preparing Sid to receive the sharpshooter. It was a great example of focus because every single blow that Bret put on Sid was a blow to the exact spot where Bret's ass would be sitting once the sharpshooter was applied. So it was kind of neat to see him like really target that and really focus on that. He wasn't sloppy at all with it. Really, with the amount of damage and domination Bret was applying up to this point in the match, it was getting hard to see how Sid was going to be able to come back from it. But then I was genuinely surprised when Steve Austin came down to cut Bret's leg out from under him while Bret was outside. I gotta be honest, I was wrapped up in Bret versus Sid. I completely forgot about Steve Austin being in the arena earlier. And I was really excited by this because I love the fact that we're going to get some more heat between these two. We're going to get some more promos out of Austin and Bret Hart. We're going to get some more matches out of them. Great shit, pal. Great way to keep that alive. It looked like they had to repeat the spot where Bret's face went into the exposed turnbuckle after Sid tripped the first time running through it. They kind of salvaged it, though. It didn't look too bad. Sid's chokeslam looked good, though, and the pop from the crowd on Bret kicking out sounded even better. The crowd was into this. The involvement of Shawn Michaels in the finish felt a little cheap, given the circumstances at first, but I ended up changing my mind pretty quickly about that. It was a pretty great way to keep the belt on Sid and help build the story of Bret Hart, sprinkle a little Shawn Michaels in there, sprinkle some Steve Austin in there. After the finish, I did love Bret Hart starting a hockey fight with Shawn Michaels. He drilled Shawn with a hard right hand and then pulled Shawn's shirt up over his head and just hit him with a whole bunch of rabbit punches while Shawn went down, tied up in his t-shirt still. And I also loved the slow motion replay of Shawn Michaels hitting the chair when he got knocked off the apron by Bret in the finish. His head went straight into the seat of that chair. After that, Shawn grabbed the headset microphone and tried to cut a promo. We really didn't hear it, or at least I didn't. I wasn't able to pick up most of what he said. On his way out, Shawn almost got into it with a couple of fans. Meanwhile, Sid was just having a great time, basking in the adoration of the crowd and the victory, and just kind of being almost babyface Sid in with the fans there while still looking psycho. So when I say that this match left me pleasantly surprised, I don't mean it to sound like I thought it was going to suck. With Bret Hart in there, I didn't think that it was really possible for this to suck all too bad. I thought this would be, at minimum, like a decent match. Maybe, at worst, serviceable, But once again, we have proof that when Sid is at the top of the card, he's willing to put the work in. And that's something that I remember us complaining about before. Like, Sid's matches always had super poor quality, just barely showing up for them, barely putting anything in. If anything, he looked like he was maybe being too cautious sometimes. But since he's entered the championship picture here, Sid's work has completely improved across the board in every way. Maybe his effort is directly related to his paycheck. I don't know. But Sid's been looking great in these championship matches. And then with an opponent like Bret Hart, again, the match quality only goes up from there. Everyone involved in this looked good. The storytelling in the match was great. The interference from Stone Cold got me excited. Shawn's involvement in the finish was intense and real. And it didn't feel like a bullshit schmoz like we're used to with some of these matches. And for all that and more, I ended up going with 4 stars on this match because after some of the things that we got earlier in the night, what a solid way to end what was an otherwise lackluster pay-per-view. Ryan, what did you think of our main event and the way that this pay-per-view ended?
Yeah, I mostly agree. I don't want to say, like you were hesitant to say surprised. With Bret Hart involved, I'm not surprised at how good this was. And I think part of the surprise surprisement, though, is because there was hardly any build-up for this match. Like, it just didn't feel like there was a proper build-up for what they ended up delivering here, which was a pretty damn good match. When it started out and Michaels referred to Sid as the most expensive luggage in the WWF, I'm laughing because it was kind of breaking kayfabe, because he's saying, or he flat out says, because the rest of us have to carry him through the matches. So he's kind of tipping his hat that this isn't real. But once the match actually started, though, Bret Hart, they really switched it up, because going into this match, I thought, and probably most fans thought, that Sid was going to be at least in control for the beginning of it. He was going to use his power to try and, bring the match under his will. But Bret Hart is really the aggressor and is on top for most of this match, just taking it to Sid. And, maybe that's one of the ways to make Sid look good, is just put him in there like a wrestling dummy and allow one of the best wrestlers in the game to just fucking go at him for 10 minutes, because that's kind of what it was at the beginning. I thought JR put out a great quote saying, Bret Hart, everything has purpose. And he says, in other words, he doesn't waste a lot of motion. Everything means something. And just a great way to put that, JR. One thing I was definitely shocked about was Bret Hart's power that was on display here. There's a few times where he's picking up Sid, this 6'9", 300-pounder, like he's nothing, throwing him around, backbreakers, slamming him into the ring post. I mean, Bret Hart really looked great here, and I agree. I was so involved in the match that when Stone Cold ran out here, I completely forgot about him. I didn't even think about this being a possibility. And the way we tie in the knee injury also involved the Shawn Michaels. We get to save face for Bret Hart here. So I thought it was a decent ending, an extremely solid match out of Sid here. And I agree, a 4-star. I don't think I could go 5-star on this, but way to go, Bret Hart, and way to go, Sid. You put on a fun match here.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting because I do not think as highly as you guys of this match. I think maybe for the first half of it I do, but I was just too caught up in this Bret versus Shawn stuff. Because I guess we have to remember that the original plan was to have that Bret versus Shawn rematch at WrestleMania until one of them decides to lose their smile and just fucks up the whole plan. So this is like the start of that feud between Bret and Shawn, and it's amazing. I mean, it's great. It starts with Bret doing his interview and Shawn Michaels' music cutting him off.
The hatred just coming through.
And just the real hatred that he has for Shawn Michaels. I mean, you can feel it coming through the TV. It's fantastic. Now, for the match itself, to me, the Austin interference was good, but what's even better to me was the Bulldog and Owen Hart come out to beat up on Austin. So again, it has me wondering, where are they going with this? With Bulldog and Owen and Bret, because Bret's a babyface. Those guys are heels. What's going on there? So I am very interested in that. For the match itself, I agree with you guys a lot on the first half, but then when Bret starts selling the knee from Austin, it's almost like Sid took over the match as far as where they were going and calling it. And it just got a little sloppy. Like, Sid was talking Bret through the choke slam. He gave him a choke slam, but he's talking to him for quite a few seconds before he executed the choke slam. They were going outside the ring for a little bit and got a little sloppy out there. So I don't know. I didn't like that Sid took over the match and just kind of, I don't know, it was Sid being Sid, I think. So it kind of took me out of it. So I gave it 2 stars. I think I would have given it 3, but things just got a little too sloppy once Sid took over.
That's funny that you mention it that way, because it was right, like you say, it was right after Stone Cold and then Bret selling the knee. All of that work that Bret put into Sid's back just disappeared at that point. Sid remembered that he had his back worked on for maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds after that, but he got over it pretty damn fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying there.
Yeah, to me, there was like a clear line, like, okay, Bret Hart has control of this match, and then the knee, and then it's like, okay, Bret is allowing Sid to control the match. That's how it came off to me.
Yeah. What did Meltzer think about this?
Dave Meltzer gave this 3 stars. He said that Bret Hart carried it to an above-average match using his regular arsenal, dominating most of the way since he was doing the job at the end.
Can't really argue with that, I suppose. Well, gentlemen, this pay-per-view is over. So, we need to ask ourselves the most important question of the night at a price of $19.95. Did you get your money's worth? Ryan, please, why don't you take that first?
I really enjoyed this last match, and the first match with Flash Funk and Leif Cassidy, that was a nice surprise, but no, those were not enough to bring this pay-per-view out of the gutter, and mostly because I was forced to give The Undertaker a dud. So I cannot say I got my money's worth.
Yeah, my answer is no as well. There were just too many things that I hated about this show, mainly the Executioner and Undertaker match and the fucking fake Razor, fake Diesel stuff. And I have to say, though, that I think that this show did a pretty decent job of storytelling that I feel should be things that they should be showing on Raw. This stuff between like Bret and Shawn, it'd be nice to see that carried out on Raw. Or, Goldust and Hunter Hearst Helmsley starting to feud. Like, let's see some of that shit on Raw, rather than seeing Flash Funk versus the Goon or some stupid shit like that. Like, let's get some good storytelling on Raw.
I can't wait to tell you what we'll see next week, or tomorrow, I guess. But to answer the question of whether or not I got my money's worth, surprisingly, yes. I need to make a distinction up front because I hated a lot about this pay-per-view, quite fervently. But I have to make the distinction that we are not asking here whether we would have bought it, because that would be a big no. The build-up to this was shit. Nothing that happened in the weeks between Survivor Series and this pay-per-view made me want to purchase this. By that rationale, like, I never would have paid for it and never would have been able to determine if I got my money's worth. But if by some mistake or fluke, maybe the dog got a hold of my credit card, I don't know. If something would have happened and I would have wound up purchasing this against my will, by the end of it, I would not have been angry, and that's solely on the strength of the main event and its aftermath. So I'm surprised to say that, but here we are. Joe, what kind of numbers do you have for us?
Pretty well received. The Observer readers gave this 76.2% thumbs up, 16.7% thumbs down, and the rest in the middle. The best match was voted as Marc Mero versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
God damn it.
Which is a bit surprising.
Yeah.
Not surprising was the worst match, which was voted as The Undertaker versus Executioner.
God, that's sad.
Dave Meltzer has some comments saying the WWF finished its 1996 pay-per-view schedule with a solid but unspectacular event. The booking for the show was clearly well thought out, as the matches that on paper did not look good were given enough outside distractions to at least attempt to overcome the obstacles.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. And that is it, folks. We are done with this one. Thank God. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review, and let your friends know how much cooler they would be if they became Rawheads like you and me. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on December 16th, 1996, with matches featuring Dr. X, T.L. Hopper, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.